We would like to remind you that flash photography is not permitted in the auditorium and would ask that all mobile telephones are turned off.
Yes, we're on the landing. I've cleared this space because now we've got to, well, the two jobs I've got to do on this landing. I've got to reinstate the spindles along here, but that's an awful lot of spindles, and you lose a bit of light, to be honest. So what I've done, the present building regulations state that spindles on stairs should be no less than 99 millimeters, or just under 10 centimeters between each rail. And I'm not trying to make this house fit in modern building regulations. I think that's asking a bit much, but that said, that's a lot of rails there, and they are very tight, so I am actually going to alter them. At the moment they're 8 centimeters apart, if that, so I am going to widen them. I'm going to give them a slightly bigger gap. I don't think really you would notice, as long as they still look basically the same as all the rest in terms of size. I don't think anybody's going to be going around with a ruler. So that would also mean I don't need quite so many of them along here. The other thing I've got to do is, under this bit of carpet, there is a floorboard that I've screwed down, which is what I call my access hatch. Most of the wiring in this house you can access from under this one floorboard. Makes it a bit tight in terms of junction boxes and things, but in terms of maintenance and servicing, a great idea. And I need to run a cable from the fuse box consumer unit up onto this landing for the downstairs lights. I need to start running that. So all the cables are in there, all the cables are in the ceiling, everything is marked. If you've been watching Noel's house for a while, you will know that I put paper labels on everything, so I knew exactly what each cable was. So the idea being is I would bring the first cable in. The first thing it will supply, in actual fact, is through into this room, and will supply the outside light, followed by the porch light, followed by the hall lights, and I'm gradually working around the whole house. That's the way I'm going to do it. So I won't connect up to the consumer unit straight away, but what I will do is start connecting the outside light and the hall light, because they're all activated by a three-way switch downstairs, which is this one. And at the moment, the only thing that controls is the upstairs light. This will do the hall light, this will do the porch light. The external light, that's slightly different, because it will be on a PIR sensor, so if you come up the path it would light it up, and all I will need for that is the cable's already there for it, is drop a cable down, and there'll be a switch mounted on the wall so I can actually isolate it out in the porch nice and high up, and the cable will run down to the actual lamp. So you've got to have a means of isolating it some way, so that's how I'm going to do it. So the cable is already dangling out there, I can assure you. Yeah, and this side I've already run that cable down, and this side I've got to chase down, and the cable will come out here somewhere. Bit of a rant. Vacuum cleaners. They annoy me. I'll tell you why they annoy me. Because over the last 20 years, probably, actually longer than that, probably 30 years, this massive market has grown up from paper vacuum cleaner bags. And I'll tell you what, they're not cheap, you know. You might be lucky and get some online at a very, very low price, but by and large they're not. If you go to one of these, you know, vacuum cleaner shops, outlets, they'll charge you a fortune. This one has got a canister in it, right? Plastic canister, and I'll tell you, there's nothing to it. Plastic and a bit of gauze. Now, if I wanted to buy a new one of those, 12 quid. I mean, I just don't understand it. Plus the fact, this thing, at best, it sucks up, you know, when it's clean, when it's clear. Oh, it's got plenty of suction on it. But all it'll do really is suck up a bit of fluff off your bedroom carpet. That's about it. If you want it to suck up anything else, you know, I mean, particularly in here when we're getting dust and plaster dust and all that sort of thing, oh, 10 minutes, it's clog solid. Absolutely useless. But this one, this was my dad's. A bit unimposing, isn't it, really? The brand is immaterial. What's important is it's got a reusable vacuum back in that. And the good thing about those, when they're full up, you just take them out to the bin, as you do, usually in the pouring rain in the evening in your bare feet, empty your bag out, come back in, put it back in your vacuum cleaner, vacuum heaven, you're off again, aren't you? But I discovered you can buy these online, and I think I got a couple of them for, they're about £2 each, something like that. So now it means when I've got one and it's maybe through the wash or drying out, I've got another one ready to go. The whole thing, I tell you, it's just don't fall for this crap. Yeah. Slowly coming off. If I go too fast, it will rip. And I don't want it to rip. Then if I take this top layer off, I only need to very gently soak what's underneath and it'll all come off. This is what happens if you wallpaper on hardboard. And if I'm lucky, there'll only be a little bit left at the end. Keep going. Will I get to the top without ripping? I'm losing a bit on the left, but not too much. I can get that off afterwards. Ooh. We're nearly at the top. Yes! How about that then? Okay, here we go. I've been after one of these for ages. As you know, I've got some all-wind machines, you know, the sort you flick the lever and the ball runs round. I've got a couple of those. That was one thing me and my father had in common, you know, because, well, for different reasons. We both like these machines. Now, I like them for the mechanical ingenuity. In other words, really, apart from the lights and the bright colours, it's just a series of levers and springs that just encourages people to put money in that slot there, including me. All the usuals: jackpot for 3 bars, jackpot for 3 melons, jackpot for 3 bells. Tell you, chance of getting that is pretty slim. I've put in 60 pence worth of 2p's and got nothing back. Anyway, this is a bit of a restoration project. Oh, also you get any position in the window, because that's your winning line. You see, if you've got them one there, and one there, or one there, or whatever. 18 coins. I love that, because this machine is set for 2p's, but you could set it for 10p's. But I have filled the jackpot up. I've put pound coins, 50p's in, that sort of stuff. And as you're not here with me today, I'm going to put in 2p on your behalf. It could be a winner, couldn't it? Let's try. It's in. Are we ready? Let's pull the lever. Ooh. No. Look at this, mask on. I'm in Aldi. Look, this is the cheese section. What's happened? Ham's all there. No cheese. No dairy products. Now, if you've been following my videos, you'll know that I've got to replace this fence. Like I can see next door to James's and his little ones. And it's not safe, is it really? Especially when I've got a pond. So we're going to replace this fence. I've got my work cut out for me because my dad had a couple of water butts there which were full of water. I've been gradually emptying them so I can get them moved. The bamboo's quite heavy, but I should be able to drag them forward when I'm ready. Anyway, I've got the 6-foot posts. They're on concrete Godfathers. If you don't know what they are, they're like a concrete stump. You drill 2 bolts through and that holds your post on. It's great, it stops them rotting basically. And the arris rails, which are triangular bits of wood, they run sort of across the fence like that, and you nail your fence to it. So I'd got those, but what I didn't have were these. there is a massive national short supply of them. The demand is just so great, and I ordered mine 2 weeks ago and was getting a bit itchy because I thought, well, they haven't arrived, but they won't. And as the guy said, he said they're just constantly playing catch up, and he said this week they've actually run out of concrete, and although they'll be getting another supply next week, that's already been sold and that's already going out, so they'll be back exactly where they started. And this is, he said they just hadn't stopped since lockdown. He said the demand is just so great, so you just got to have patience. But I've got them. I think 180 of them, something like that, a couple of £100. But decent wood. Anthony said, "Are you going to put tarpaulin over them?" I said, "Well, no, it's fencing. It's meant to be outdoors, you know, and it is all pressure treated. That'll be fine." So I'm going to have to start taking this fence down. I think it's sort of, I don't know what it's fixed to up here, because their extension was actually built after the fence. So we're going to have to look at that. I think because they're on the dividing line, the post will need to go on that corner somehow. We'll figure it out. The main thing is to get this fence down. I know I shall not be doing it in one run. I should do a section at a time. You know, it's a lot of nailing, that sort of thing. So yeah, we are all right. We're on track now. We've got some wood, and the fish have just been fed again. See them there? Oh, there's a big one. They are all buddies now. Yeah. So I think it'll be fence time. Perhaps the weekend, perhaps into next week. We will see. This morning, I've got to put a, well, I haven't got to, but I'm going to put a socket here. This is it's on the top of the landing, you see. And this office room in here, I could do with a socket the other side. At the moment, all the sockets on this floor run through here and down to the consumer unit. And the original idea was to have a ring mount, so it would come out, go around all the sockets and go back. But I've decided I don't need a ring mount. And very few electricians put them in there. Perhaps in kitchens where you've got a greater load, but on the rest of the house, we're just not consuming, you know, lots of amps. And this is a 20 amp circuit that will run everything I want to run. So rather than returning that back, which was my original intention, and pulling it back through, I'm going to come. So in other words, it comes from the consumer unit, goes around all the sockets up here, and then rather than going back to the fuse box, it goes up to this one, through the wall the other side, so there's a socket there, and then up into the loft. So I've got a power socket up there. That's my thinking anyway, so that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, so I figured the best way to do it, because this is a stud wall, is I've prized that off. And I've drilled a couple of holes just to see what we've got under there. There's no cable, nothing live anyway. That one is a stud running that way. So I've just gone this side of it, and that's straight under the board. So what I'll do is I'll thread the cable up through there, and then the cable can come through that hole up there. It'll be tucked well behind the board. Nobody's going to be going drilling anywhere near that. Then we can come up here, up behind this hole, and then up the trunk in here, all the way to the first socket. Yes. That's right, we can drill straight through that, straight through there to the one beneath, and then run the cable straight down. Yeah, that should be it. Cookery Corner. Yes, welcome back to Cookery Corner. Yes, welcome back to Cookery Corner. You're thinking, you're always cooking mince. Actually, it's not true. I do cook lots of other things. It just so happened that when I decided to video it, I was doing mince again. So mince, red chopped onions, a little brown pepper, and some chilli powder. Put all that through. Tin of chopped tomatoes, or slop as my son likes to call it. And in pan 2, we've got pasta, chopped green peppers, mixed vegetables, and red kidney beans. good mix of things there. So that's it from Cookery Corner. I'm going to amalgamate those two and then dump it on a plate. And I'll lay a bet there'll be nothing left after my son's had that.
Cookery Corner.
Look at these. Well, they're fabulous. Got to give a thumbs up to Angela Ridley, who's got a great Facebook page called Off the Wall. You should be able to find it. There's a couple of Off the Wall pages on Facebook, but you should find hers because she's got all kinds of quirky things which will fit in very well with Ralph's house. Can't recommend her stuff enough, and she's got some new stuff coming in next week, so I should be watching that. Yeah, these will all sort of form part of what I'm trying to do with these stairs. Just a bit of a recap, because I think people have forgotten. As I mentioned in previous videos, this wall's going to be red. It's kind of a a quirky Art Deco 1930s cinema type feel, and I'm just at the stage now when once I've got that last bit of paper off. Look at the height. It's going to be really fun getting up there. The last bit of paper, and then I'm going to start lining this. But at the same time, I've got a job replacing a fence in the garden between me and my neighbour, which is also pressing. So I think I'll be sort of juggling jobs, that's for sure. Here was a job that didn't go quite so well. When I did the electrics, because I've rewired this house, but when I did the electrics, my original intention was to run a ring main upstairs, or a ring circuit, as it comes out of the fuse box, ran all the sockets, then back to the fuse box. But electricians generally don't do that now, because you know, we just don't have power hungry stuff, do we? You know, most of you guys are TV. People don't have electric fires in their rooms anymore. So so I've decided not to do that, and I thought, well, what I'll do, because I need a socket on this wall and the other side in this little office that I've made in here, and then it needs to go up into the loft. Now when I stripped all the lath and plaster in the bathroom, it was just a straight run. They were just hollow between, you know, the uprights in the stud wall. Not with this one, as I've discovered, which gave me an awful lot of work, and I suppose a lot of it so they could get a fixing for this. So there's horizontal pieces. So unfortunately, I've really had to chip out of the wall to get past these noggins, so I can actually get my cable where I want it to go. I've already filled in one hole anyway. There we go. Job all tidy. Yep, I had to make holes, but there's no holes anymore. That's it, they're all smooth. So that's that job done. Just got to screw that socket on. Right, here we go. No, don't get anything for that. Shall we try again? No. And before I put any more money in it, I'll tell you a little bit about this machine. It was made by Sega. You know, Sonic the Hedgehog Sega. Oh yes, well, Sega was originally an American company. And they made a lot of slot machines, all kinds of things. But these are very popular in Britain. These particular ones, they're known as the Windsors. So I guess that one's called the Buckingham. And about 1965, something like that. Let's have a go. No, I'll tell you what, it takes your money. Oh, you'd think I'd get something for 2 oranges. I'll get the odd cherry, but that's about it. And I've filled the jackpot with £5 in 50p's. Someone will eventually win it. Apparently chances of getting the jackpot are very slim, that's why I put them in. Yeah, so anyway, I bought this from a man who runs a fairground up in Leicestershire. Well, he didn't run a fairground, he was part of it. And his dad had all these fruit machines. And he put it through on Facebook, and I thought, well, what I really wanted was an earlier one. But I think 1965 is all right. And I like the fact it only takes 2p's. So great for kids without them getting into gambling. You know what I mean? Let's give it another go. We've got to get a win, haven't we? I mean, come on, in there is a cherry. No. So there it is, the Buckingham. And it's all 240 volt in there. But let me show you something. It's not like the electronic ones today. This one is totally mechanical. And let's just put 2p in the front. So it's primed. Let's give it a go. It's a work of art, isn't it? But I tell you what, it weighs an absolute ton. And the only electronics in this thing is a couple of solenoids to assist with the payout, but otherwise everything is mechanical, and they're driven by a kind of clock. So effectively you're winding it up. That's what provides your power to spin the reels, which get flicked and sent round. But like I say, the second set, you've got every chance of getting a win. Although, in my case, my chances haven't been good. So there you are. That's the Buckingham 1965. Well, I've got virtually all of this strip now. Apart from that bit, which is right at the top of the stairs. So how do you get there? That's how you do it. Got a flight of steps leaning against this cupboard. It's pretty strong there. Scaffold board across. Another pair of steps. I can walk across that quite safely and reach the last bit. Well, that's the plan anyway. And everybody's been saying, oh, be careful, don't want you going down the stairs. That'll be fine. Fruit machine. Actually, they don't like to call it fruit machines. Not in the business. Slot machines. They're much further. Vintage slot machine. That's what it is. But I just thought I'd show you how far I've progressed. I've got all the reel strips in now, and I've had to service absolutely everything. Bear in mind, the actual function of this thing is wholly mechanical. Totally mechanical. The only electrics in it really serve two purposes. One is to light the cabinet, fairly simple, and the other is a relay that detects whether or not you've put a coin in it and whether or not you're allowed to pull down the handle. And that's really where the electronics end. This is a fascinating thing. This is the Jackboxx payout, and it's got a little arm, and if you pot it up with 50p's, or, well, that's what I'm using anyway for Jackboxx. It seems to fit the tube better. I think it was originally designed for old pennies, so may adapt that. I have to put a plastic liner in it to reduce it so that I can use smaller coins. But anyway, 50p's alright. It'll pay out £2.50 on a Jackboxx roughly. One of the problems with coins, you see, over the years is that they have varied in thickness. Even the old, well, not the old penny, but the new penny, the thickness of that changed over the years, which must have been a nightmare for anybody in the amusement arcade business, because everything had to be recalibrated and altered, or the prices on the front changed according to the payouts. Anyway, that's the Jackboxx. This is the tube that pays out all the normal little payouts, like, you know, you'll get one for, say, 2 plums and a camper. I've had these changed, as you know, from the standard ones. They weren't very exciting. You had a choice of swans or stars, which I didn't think were particularly good. So I've gone for a whole new look on this. And actually, it's come out really well. And it does pay out on everything. I've tested every single one. Which you can do when the machine's out. You can cock the machine and you can actually get the reels free spinning, set them where you want and check the payout, which is what I've done. But let's just turn this around a little bit. I just want to show you something. Each reel, 1, 2, 3, is attached to one of these separately. And in fact, the furthest one is this one. The middle one is the middle one here, and this one is the one closest to it. And the way this works is, when you play, of course, you'll see all the oranges and lemons and bells and whatever. The machine doesn't understand that. What it does understand is the slots in this wheel. So as it comes to a stop, these levers will, if there's a hole there, drop through or not drop through. And that dictates what the payout is. But look at the springs in this thing. Yeah, it's took me a few days to sort of, well, a couple of weeks to be honest, to actually get to grips with how this works. Very familiar with it now, and yes, we've made good progress. So this mechanism was made, it's broadly based on a Mills fruit machine, although made by Sega. I think they used possibly some of Mills parts or copied it, whatever, but to all intents and purposes it's a Mills machine. Yeah, wholly mechanical. Unfortunately, over the years it's sort of lacked maintenance. It's been on a fairground for a lot of years, but as with all slot machines, they are made out of high tempered steel, not your average cheap bendy steel. This is made of stout stuff, and the reason it is because it's got to do a lot of work. You think how many times that handle's got to pull. Yeah, work of art really. The glass has come back, and this is the original case, which I have etch primed, because it's aluminium, you see, unfortunately, so you can't just paint over aluminium, otherwise it will peel off. So I've had to etch prime it, give it a coat of etch primer, lightly sand that, and then 4 coats of this silver. I suspect that originally it was a chrome finish, but I really couldn't see the point in spending that amount of money getting this re-chromed. I have got a couple of things that do need re-chroming, in particular the handle, which is extremely rusty, and that's fair enough, I'll get that done, but I think you'd agree the case looks fantastic now. It's taken a bit of working out, because where we've had to substitute symbols and double check them against the old reels, which I still have, and against the old glass, and against the actual reels themselves to make sure everything ties up, but it now does. So hopefully I'll be able to show you next with it all lit up and working. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe.